Mic test. Hey everyone. Yeah, welcome back. This is my probably one of the it's my first live session ever since Gunslinger came out, so pardon me if it's not so spontaneous. But anyways, the topic for today is going to be about the new class. It's about TaekWon, and whether it is for you or it is not for you. I think just to prefix a discussion, this is not about us deciding whether the class is good or not, but really mainly for you to find out whether this is for you or not. Because I think every class currently out there is has its pros and cons, and whether you enjoy something or not will really depend on your play style and how you intend to use this. Also, we will be having giveaways courtesy of Ragnarok Mobile. We will be giving away some voucher codes to redeem. So you can use the codes to redeem a maximum of 3 times per character. By the way, the codes can only be used in the SIA servers. For those from global or from other regions that are watching, sorry, but the codes can only be used within the SIA server. And you can redeem the codes via the redemption page or in game. So we'll be sharing some of the codes as we go along, and it's just free for all. So whoever gets it first and just redeems it. I think we'll have about 40 codes to share for tonight. So there should be plenty enough for everyone, considering we don't have so many viewers every time we stream. But yeah, so just keep an eye out for that. Okay, so before we proceed, this character is in the CBT Chinese server, so this is a test server. So whatever you see on it, I don't actually have them in the in the in the official server. We'll be using this so that we can showcase some of the skills, we can showcase some of the items, and if you do want us to do something or try something, just feel free to drop it in the chat. I mean, I'm I'll be checking the chat every now and then. Okay, so we'll probably start off with let's do a code giveaway right now. Let's go on and just do the first code, and let's see here. I think the font is a little bit it doesn't match the area. So let me just change the I'm gonna change the font color. Give me a second. Font color should be red. I think yeah, red should be good. There you go. No, even worse. Okay, anyways, but yeah, first code. First code's up. Okay, start this off. Okay, so we're gonna put the other codes maybe a little bit later as we go along with the discussion. So, yeah, let me give you an overview about TaekWon. So TaekWon is a physical class. Well, the range is a little bit debatable, but it's a physical class that's focused on damage. Okay, I'm not gonna put in my opinion first, but I want us to go through the what's in it in the job. So we're gonna put this up real quick. If you can't see it, let me. Don't worry, because I'll be zooming in a bit. So this is a summary of the job, sorry, the skills and the attributes of TaekWon. So as you can see here, overall TaekWon is a pretty balanced class with about 40% of its skills being passive, and then there are switches. Again, if you don't know what switches are, we'll go to them later. And then there are about 20% or 18% of their skills are buffs, and then the remaining ones are more on attack skills. So pretty good. I'd say there's a lot of variations in how you can play this class, and I think to a certain extent you have to be really smart when it comes to playing it on the field. Skill targeting is basically the mechanism on how the class targets, or how the targets work within the class. Like Like you have characters where you just have to click the skill and then your character moves towards a target and it executes. For TaekWon, there are various different kinds of skills, ranging from skill lock target to self range. Self range are skills wherein, you cast it and then it casts the skill around you. You have point range, which is actually just one skill, which is a high jump. And then you have a forward rectangle skill, which basically just creates an area of effect that's equivalent to a rectangle in front of your character. So the mix is pretty good, but it's mostly skill lock target, which means it targets on to an enemy or a target, and then it walks towards it until it reaches the maximum range or the minimum range requires and then executes the skill. So you have to keep this in mind when you're playing this character, because I think for PvE you don't really have to think so much about this, but when you do use this in PvP, this can severely affect your positioning. Um, because the launch range of your skills are here. So don't mind Universe Star Shard. This is basically 99 because once you cast the buff onto the enemy, it just drops the stars wherever they are on the map. Uh, but most of the skills that you see here have very short range, so you have to really go in if you want to deal damage. Skill modifier, I would say, comparing it with other classes, TaekWon is a bit mediocre in terms of the innate modifiers. Uh, if you were to compare it with other damage classes would have their top skills ranging around 36 skill modifier percentage. So I think it's mediocre. There are other multipliers in play which would severely enhance your damage, and you can make use of that. But before we go there, let's probably drop our second code. I don't know how I'm gonna do this for the rest of the night, but I'm gonna put in the second code. Just give me a second. Okay. Okay, so we'll put in our second code in the screen. So feel free to grab it and then just top it up, guys. Okay, yeah, let me put that up then. So again, it's a little bit mediocre. There are other mechanics of the class that enhances the damage, but the same can be said about other classes. So in terms of the innate skill modifier, it's probably around the mediocre range. Launch range again is the distance of the skill. So most of your attack skills are actually very close range. It's a little bit ironic though that it's Universe Star Shard. So this is the buff, right? This is the buff you put on your enemy, and then it casts the skill on the enemy. It's a little bit ironic that it's this skill that has the longest range. I mean, in general, the auto attack builds will use this, right? The star builds would use this. It's a little bit ironic that this is the one that has the longest range, because I mean, if you wanna accumulate your stars or your constellations real quickly, you just go in there and do auto attacks, right? To be honest, if you ask me, I would rather prefer the sun and the moon skills to have a longer range. But obviously, I'm not the developer, so it's up to them. Cast time. So these are the fixed cast times and the variable cast time of the job. So there are just two skills that has fixed cast times for this job, which is mainly high jump and piece of sun and moon. Um, if you look at high jump, it's very similar to Chronomancer's what do you call that? Wormhole. So it's very similar to Wormhole. It allows you to teleport directly onto a location that you pinpoint. The the thing about it though is it has FCT. And FCT is fixed cast time. It's very difficult to get rid of it. I'm not saying it's gonna make the skill unusable, but to a certain extent, it limits the usage of this skill as to just be an initiator skill. Doesn't necessarily make it bad, don't get me wrong. Variable cast time, again, one of my problems with this class is the sun and moon skills have way too much VCT. Now, I know you can neglect this by using Dex, right? I mean, you probably get, if you're in Sun and Moon build, you will have Dex anyways, because the build in itself requires you to invest in Strength, Dex, and Vit. Um, so it's important that you get a lot of this already, but the just the amount that you need, it's 7, so it's 210 Dex. Now, if you get debuffed by skills that increases your FCT by percentage, not by raw count, then this can easily grow to a very big number. So I wouldn't really say that this makes a skill entirely useless, but if you combine this 7-second VCT with a three cell launch range, it's gonna make the skill very difficult to use, especially in organized PvP. I mean, yo-yo, go on, right? I mean, no, I mean it's just free for all. You catch someone off guard, you one hit them, that's it. But in organized PvP, I think in competitive PvPs, it will be a little bit more challenging to use this. So this requires a little bit more preparation because of the combination of the short range and the cast time. Cooldown for this class looks pretty decent as well. Um, the skills that have high cooldown is Hatred of the Moon and Hatred of the Sun. Not really a skill you will be casting again after you cast it. You know, maybe if you're in a PvP match, you cast it on one job, right, on one target, and then afterwards you probably won't switch until the end of that match. So it doesn't really matter even if the cooldown is really high. Run again has a high cooldown, but yeah, it's a move speed buff and not really so crucial, I would say. The others have very acceptable cooldowns, I'd say. I mean, if you compare it with other jobs, it has decent cooldown. The Universe Star Shard that you see here, this is the skill that damages the players. The actual buff that you use to cast it is about 3 seconds. Okay, moving on to cast delay. Now, for those who doesn't know what cast delay is, okay, cast delay and cooldown are two different things. Cooldown is basically the time required for you to be able to use the same skill again. Cast delay is the time required for you to use any skill after just using a skill. So as you can see, it's Universe Star Shard that has the highest cast delay. It's about 3 seconds, which means you cast Universe Star Shard, there's 3 seconds where you can't cast anything or any other skill. Uh, the others are mostly 1 second, which is pretty good actually. I mean, you combine this with maybe your anti-fatal food that has cast delay reduction, then this should be maybe 0.7, 0.8, I think, if my math is right. So should be pretty good. So the combination of the cooldown and the cast delay is actually pretty decent. I don't have any problems with that. So overall, this is how the skill looks like, right? So I mean, just looking at it from a top view, I don't know what you guys feel. For me, TaekWon looks like it's a good class. Again, it's mediocre. It's mediocre in terms of damage, but the variety of what you can do certainly makes it very interesting to play. I love playing PvP, so for me, this is a very interesting class. There will be problems that we probably can discuss later on, but it doesn't diminish the fact that it's a fun class to play. Okay, time for our third code. Let me put in another code in here. Okay, here you go. Sorry, it should be all capital letters. But yeah, so let me change that. KH T2SPG. Yeah, there you go. So just so you can see it clearly, there's the code. Okay, strike that off. So I'm okay. Let me close this now. So we're gonna move on to to the actual game now, and then let's see how we can utilize some of these skills. This is the Star Sun build. Once you enable the once you enable the dial for Sun and Moon, you will have a scale here, and you see the icons, right? They're moving back and forth. And so this basically means that if it's on the moon scale, you can only use skills of the moon branch. If it's on the sun scale, you can use the skills on the sun branch, basically. And these three divisions here basically tells you how much bonus damage you're getting. So if you look at the skill, if it's in the middle section, you get a bonus of plus 200%. If it's on the outer sections, it's 50 and 100% bonus. So yeah, this means that if you want to play this class, you have to pay attention to this. You can't just blindly play this. And so this is why I said it's gonna be tough to play this on an actual match. Just imagine you want to make the most out of it, right? And so you have to rush in when the icon is here in the middle. And so you have only a few seconds to go in, execute your attack, and then move out so that you don't get smashed. So it's a pretty decent skill. I mean, my build is not, it's not totally fixed, right? I mean, obviously this character is very strong, but the damage is really good, if you ask me, right? It's just that I have to get in so close, and I have this short period of time when I have to use it, and then I have to move out. I mean, obviously you can still do decent damage, right? Even if you're out, but then you have to pay attention to this dial, and then you have to switch. You have to, instead of you focusing on the map, we have to focus on this. Okay, it kind of feels like if you do get the beat right, it may be similar to O2 Jam or those rhythm games, right, that you used to play when you were a kid. I maybe count 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. So that's probably a good strategy that you can apply, right? But again, in PvP, because you have to pay attention to this, it takes your focus away from map awareness, which is very important if you're playing competitive PvP. Okay, so the star section, the star build here, sorry, the sun section is where the heavy damage is dealt, I'd say. Okay, also this is the easier branch to use because this one is skill lock target, which basically you click on the skill, your character moves to the target and executes. The moon branch is a little bit more difficult to use because the moon branch isn't skill lock target. So again, right, I mean, if we go back to our table earlier, you see the skill lock targets here, full moon kick and the crescent kick, they're not skill lock target. They're actually, a full moon kick is self range and crescent kick is forward rectangle. So what does this mean, right? So this is where people who are very good at Mobile Legends and other MOBA games will actually shine. So it's because you don't actually have a target. You cast a skill and then it executes. I'm pretty sure when I try to use this, I will suck at this because this skill, the crescent kick, you have to be facing the enemy. So you have to be facing the enemy so that it hits, right? I will probably just miss big time if I use this because I am pretty bad at MOBA games. And this one requires you to be mindful of the area around you, right? The full moon kick here, because if they're too far, obviously you're not gonna hit anyone. So yeah, this is the branch where MOBA gamers will probably shine. I will definitely suck at this if I try this. I'm not good with those games. Okay, luckily this class has a rune skill. So this skill, and I think I got the name of this skill. Give me a second. I'm gonna look at it again. This is a buff skill. Anyways, this skill freezes your scale. It freezes you to either the sun or the moon scale, wherever it's supposedly at. Okay, so it will not move, and so you can take advantage of the duration and then just really blast your skill away. Ideally, you would want to freeze it when the icon is in the middle, so that you can take advantage of the damage. Um, uh, if it's not in the middle, it wouldn't be too bad either. I mean, it all comes down to timing, so it's really up to you. So this build, again, this is the Sun and Moon build. I'd say out of the two main builds, so there are two builds, the Star and the Sun and Moon. Out of the two builds, this is the more difficult one to use for me. I think I will suck big time if I use this. So yeah, I think this one I can say is more for the experts, people who have mastered the character building of Ragnarok, as well as you know overall how they control or how they play in PvP. Okay, so let me know what you think about this. Let me know what you think about this branch. I think it's a interesting class to play. This branch, it's an interesting class to to play, but it is very difficult. Okay, so yeah, let's move on then. Voucher codes. I have to double time on my voucher code, so I'm gonna drop three in one go. Okay, so it's three one after the other. So just give me a second. I'm gonna put in the code in here. Okay, so I'm gonna flash this for about a few seconds. Now, let me do this. So that's the first code. Okay, and then I will put in another code. Okay, so there's the two codes. Obviously, you can only redeem one at a time, and one account can only redeem three codes. Okay, another code before we continue. N7 NPL to E. There you go. So yeah, go ahead, guys. Enjoy the free gacha roll courtesy of Ragnarok Online. Okay, let me switch over then. Let me switch over to another class. We're halfway done. Let me switch over to Star Branch. This one, a lot of people like this. Again, the key aspect of this branch is auto attack. This one thrives on auto attack. I think the beauty about TaekWon is the book weapon has a very good innate attack speed, and so even without having too much attack speed or agi investment, the attack speed is still pretty good. I mean, it's just goes on and it's pretty quick, really. And so the idea behind this class is you use auto attacks to trigger your auto skills, right? And then when you have enough, your kick skills, once you have enough triggered, right? You see the stars icon here. Once you have 5 stars, you release your Universe Star Shard skill. So what this does is it will drop these stars randomly onto the enemies or onto the target and around them, right? Which deals massive amounts of damage. So this is like an AARM in terms of dealing damage, I'd say. So really fast and high damage, but it has its own twist. So as you can see, right? I mean, if I do auto attacks, the stars charges up real quickly. I mean, it's not like it's gonna be a burden, but what other people also tend to do is, instead of diving in, right, or maybe before starting the battle, they just do these attacks that they can do even without an enemy. All of those skill self range attacks to rack up on the stars, and then when they initiate with the starfall, and then they go in and dive in. So yeah, this This one relies on auto attacks. Very specifically, also because of this skill. So this is the Cosmic Fusion skill. It's a very useful, but it's a double-edged blade. Basically, it has a very good function, but it also has a very big drawback. So if you do have the rune, what this skill does is it basically ignores flee and most of the blocking skills like parry, auto guard. And so you can chip away at all of these tanky characters with ease, and you don't have to think about hit. The problem is with each attack, you reduce your own HP by 2%. You also reduce your enemy's HP by 2% with each attack. Now, the drawback is once your HP, once your HP reaches a certain threshold, maybe, so without the rune, it's about 20%, if I'm not mistaken. Without the rune, if your HP reaches below that threshold and you attack while this switch is on, you will lose all of your HP, all of your remaining HP. Before the update, it was a little bit more. So it was a little bit harsher before the update, I'd say. Let me go to the code for this. Let me see. So this one now, what this does, I don't know if you can see it. So basically, this is the buff that you get when you enable the switch. So any skill you use or any attack you use, if your HP is less than, the formula that's in here using these variables, then what happens is your HP will drop to 0. Before the update yesterday, this was the effect here was kill, which basically means you die on the spot. That's it. So yeah, not so good before, but now I think it's okay because now you can use anti-fatal skills such as Faith Prey. Before you couldn't do that because you automatically die even if you had Fate Prey on you. So for our Seiya folks, in the official server, you probably have to wait a little bit more, but in CBT, this one is already up. Hey, let me do this, and let me put the YouTube chat in here. Anyway, so not working, so I'll just probably pay attention to the chat here. Okay, so by the way, if you do have any questions, just feel free to drop them in the chat. I will check them later on. Okay, once we're done with the discussions, I'll check them and I'll try to answer them. Yeah, so before we proceed, let's probably give away some new codes. So we'll do 3 codes away again. So give me a second. Okay, so get ready, guys. The code is here. So again, 2 codes. Feel free to grab them and redeem them. If you already redeemed 3, one is don't bother to try again, and the second is please give chance to others. Okay, and then let's do another one. Here you go. Yeah. Okay, so I was reading in the chat earlier. Yeah, they were saying the the star build has very high risks, but obviously along comes very high rewards. So yeah, that's true. I totally agree with that. This class to me is a perfect PvE class aside from RM. RM, don't mind arguing about that. RM will always be the best PvE class. Okay. asphyxia, all of the damage they rack up, the fortitude, sorry, I think it's fortitude rune, the one that increases your crit damage per buff layer. So all of that combined, the MDef switching, nothing beats RM in terms of PvE content. But this one's pretty decent. I mean, if you are, if you are all fed up with RM, you want to try something new, this one's pretty decent actually. I've actually also read some suggestions, and actually those were good ideas in Discord, right? Maybe you can use Starfall extract, right? The extract from Heavens, that the Starfall. So that one is a physical skill, and so therefore, because you're using physical, then that may probably be viable. Just be careful though. I don't know what the reaction is with Cosmic Fusion. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you end up hitting so many people, you end up dying instantly. So not sure about that. So just test it out yourself. One of the most asked questions as well is, hey, there are 4 switches, but obviously if I do my skill distribution, I probably can't max all of them, right? I can't max all of them, and I don't like the other skills. I don't like them so much. Is there a way I can prioritize one over the other? So these are the switches, right? So these are the 4 switches that's crucial to be enabled, because if you enable this and you have one of the S runes, then you're going to get a very big bonus for auto attack damage. The problem is, obviously, maybe you don't want the other kicks to proc so much. Sadly, I haven't found any logic on which one goes first amongst these. One thing you can do is maybe keep the level lower for some of the skills, which would reduce their proc percentage. But then again, you may end up, having several attacks without procking, any of the auto kicks, which is, you don't want that. I think I'd rather proc a kick that I don't want than not triggering anything at all. Right? So sadly, I haven't found any logic within the codes to define that. Maybe if I do have some time, we can spend some time on there. But yeah, so far not. The other question that commonly is also being asked is the rune, this rune. Give me a second. I'm gonna enable this rune. I only have one rune enabled, which is this one. So the third line unlock here basically says, if you have this enabled, the animation of your skills will be affected by your attack speed. It's very important. I think you should not go this build if you don't have a third line unlock of this rune. That's because if you do this, you look how the animation is significantly slower, right? Because it uses its own animation, and before your character can execute another action, it has to finish the animation first. And so this rune is pretty crucial. Okay, so I'd say if you don't have this rune, don't bother going TaekWon. You're not gonna have fun. You're not gonna help. Maybe what you can do is you can just kick air in the corner, and then when you have 5 stars, you just drop Universe Star Short, and then you move back to the corner, kick around, go back, and then drop the Universe Star Shorts. So yeah, this is it about this build, the star build, which is, I think it's pretty good. If you were to ask me, this one is a lot easier to play compared to Sun and Moon. The only problem is, you probably will die a lot. So the first instance is maybe you end up not being able to manage your HP and your life steal. The book in itself gives life steal. Okay, this one has a 50% chance to gain HP. The problem is, you see here how I'm just attacking dummy, right? But it's already dropping, maybe just a 5-10%. But when you're already fighting other people, this is just gonna drop significantly. And so if you don't watch it carefully, or maybe if you hit people with reflect, then you're just gonna auto die if you don't have anyone faith praying you, or or casting anti-death skills on you. I mean, Fate Pray's the only thing I can think of. So yeah, this build is the Faith Pray build. I think it's very crucial that you get Faith Pray when using this build. Okay, let's do our codes again. Let me put in a couple of codes in here. Okay, codes are up there. Let me take a peek at the chat. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, Kurio is right. Body and heart rune is very important. Without that, you probably won't be able to survive. Erwin said, Kyle mana para lang kay Jankils. Okay, it's Tagalog, guys, but yeah. So for my guildmates who are watching, Gotthite, hi everyone. For my friends from Kamikaze, hi everyone. My friends from Team Leagues and everyone in Discord that I interact with. Hi guys, thanks for watching. Yeah, your support means a lot. Put in how to redeem. There's an option in the game to redeem the codes. There's an option in the settings. You can scroll down. You can type in the codes and redeem. There's also a web page where you can enter the code and redeem it. Okay, Restless says, yeah, Sun Moon build gameplay is go in via jump, drop skill, revert. Yes, the revert skill is the retrograde skill, I think. So what this does is, let me put that in here, guys. I'll show you. Where is that? This one. So what this does, I don't know if you're playing Dota, but in Dota, there's this character called Kunkka, Admiral, which basically he marks a spot with X, and then after several seconds, his target goes back there. It's a little bit similar to that. So if I'm in here for this moment, right, I move somewhere, right, I move over here, I use the skill, I will revert back to where I was 5 seconds ago. It's a pretty good skill, actually. It's a pretty good skill to, again, enter, execute, and then move out. Okay, MC said, how about my shout out? I think this is Lowski. Lowski? Yeah, hi to Lowski. So he's been asking for a shout out ever since. Oh, so people are saying Faceless Void. So that's Faceless Void. Okay, sorry guys. I told you I'm not good with MOBA games. So someone's saying that was Faceless Void skill. Okay, sorry guys. The Faceless Void skills I grew up with was different. I remember Faceless Void very different from the first Dota. Okay. So, yeah, let me drop another code before we continue with our discussion. Okay, there you go. Okay, so again, if you do have questions, drop them in the chat. I'll try to back read in a bit. But before we go there, I want to answer some of the questions that that I did capture either in Discord or somewhere in the comments. Now, if you did watch my previous video on some of the things you need to know about TaekWon, I did mention there that there seems to have been a mistake in coding the HP loss of what was that skill called again? In a second, I'm gonna look for that skill. So basically, there's this skill that TaekWon has that triggers HP loss equivalent to your luck multiplied by certain multipliers. Yeah, I think it's Nova Explosion. Sorry, was it Nova Explosion? Yeah, Nova Explosion. So when TaekWon first came out, there seems to have been a mistake about what is being used to multiply it. And at that time, it was crit chance and crit resist. But the text tells you it's crit damage and crit reduction. I did check in the codes now, and it seems to have been corrected already. I'm gonna go there real quick. Give me a second, guys. So now it's corrected. It basically uses, it now uses crit damage and crit reduction. Okay, just to make sure I'm saying that right. So it now uses crit damage and crit reduction. So yeah, I think that one is fixed now. Let me show that real quick. It's 136330 36330. It adds this buff 136150. Sorry, my bad. It should be the 151. Yeah, anyways, now it uses crit damage and crit damage reduction. I'm gonna have to find the buff code. Sorry, guys. Just give me a second. 7720. Yeah, that was it. So, okay. So now this is the buff code for that. So now it uses crit damper and crit deathper. So it's now fixed. So now you can, if you want to use this skill, if you want to maximize this skill, you can now start putting in crit damage percentage into this build. Although I think it's not so feasible because this, although the star build is an auto attack build, it doesn't need, I don't really think it benefits so much from crit because a lot of the main sources of your damage would still be the kick skills. It would still be the universe star shard. And so if you put in crit damage, it's not gonna affect it. So yeah. Also, this doesn't work. This damage here, right? This HP loss doesn't work on certain enemies, certain MVPs, certain NPCs. So just keep that in mind. Doesn't work all of the time. Okay. Yeah. So another thing that I wanted to go back to for this was whether KL card actually works on some of the kick skills. I think you see the biggest difference. Let me go here real quick. So one of your key skills that would deal damage is the Universe Star Shard skill. And if I go to Universe Star Shard, there are two types basically. There are two attacks for Universe Star Shard. One is the one that gets triggered when you put the buff on the enemy, which is the first one. The second one is the one that gets triggered by your auto attacks. The difference between them is the logic. Skill lock target is actually the same. One of the criterias for Kobold Leader card. And so one of the questions was, does it trigger it? Right? Does Kobold Leader trigger it? The answer to that, sadly, is no. It lacks a certain code for it to trigger it. I don't know. Maybe if you guys can file support tickets if you want, or maybe you can let the developers know via the forums if maybe they would consider this. I think it's a bit overpowered, but I think it makes sense for Kobold Leader to actually work on this. So I'm gonna test that out right now. So we're gonna get this book and then we're gonna put in Kobold Leader. And I'm just gonna turn off the switches so that I am not triggering any of the other kicks. I am just triggering the Universe Star Shard skill. Start this off. And let's see if it will trigger. So you see there it's a small black ball that gets triggered, right? But the heal is not coming in comparison to when I do this. Let me do axe kick. No, let me do this flash kick instead. If I remember correctly, flash kick triggers it. So if I do flash kick, Kobold Leader triggers it, right? And it triggers it based on the number of people it hit. So if you have Kobold Leader, you hit 6 people, which is a target, which is a max target, if I'm not mistaken. Then you get 6 times the amount of heal. So yeah, Kobold Leader doesn't work for all of the skills. It will only work for some of them. Mainly, if I'm not mistaken, it is this one plus this smash kick. Yeah, it's not triggering. Sorry, I have it at level 1. There you go, triggered. Yeah, Kobold Leader gets triggered by those two skills. Sadly, though, Universe Star Shard doesn't trigger it. I think it would be a good thing to if they change it to trigger using Universe Star Shard. Okay, guys, I am running out of time, and I still need to give away a lot of codes, so I'm gonna drop them in here. Give me a second. Okay, again, 2 codes are up there. Go grab them, guys. If I end up not being able to to consume all of the codes, we'll probably randomly select the folks in the chat. Okay, so those in the chat, if you were watching, just please drop just one message so that if I extract this later on, I can just do a roll and then let's see. Okay. Yeah, let me go on then. Okay, one other thing that um was a question before that I didn't get to answer is about the max target. So each skill has a max target. It doesn't, so the game doesn't always tell you that, but in certain instances, there are max target parameters for the skills, and I've listed them down here. So let me filter to only those with max targets. So these are the skills that have max targets. So crescent kick. Crescent kick only damages up to 10 targets within its area of effect. Flame kick does 8. Flash kick, I think this is 6. Yeah, this is the jump, so this is 6. Full moon kick is 8. Roundhouse kick is 8. Universe Star Shard. This one is the one that gets casted by your buff, so it damages one person at a time. And then Warmth of Stars. So Warmth of Stars damages 15 enemies at a time. For Universe Star Shard, guys, just don't be confused. Let me go to Universe Star Shard. For Universe Star Shard, the one that gets triggered by your auto attack doesn't have the same parameter, so it behaves different. So in general, although the damage will be the same, the behavior of Universe Star Shard from auto attack from the one being casted by the buff is kind of different. Okay, let's take a look at the chat then. Let me look at the chat and see who has any questions if there is. I mean, provided there are people in the chat. Maverick said, Idle have a discovery traps influences by attack stats. shocked since, as far as I know, landmine is the only one that have attack scaling. I have to check that. I don't know yet. I haven't checked on that yet. So hey, let me do a. I'm gonna do a window capture. Sorry, display capture rather. So that display one. Okay. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Maverick. So yeah, you're one of the few people who who's a fan of my analysis. I mean, a lot of people tend to find the formula part very boring. Um, I like math. I didn't like it when I was young, but now I'm starting to like math, and so I really like fiddling around with these stuff. Uh, yeah. So I don't see any questions there. I'm probably gonna drop some more codes in the meantime. Give me let me get the codes up. So this is the first code, and then okay. So again, two codes. Go grab them, guys. There's also another thing that I did point this out before in my TaekWon video. Let me open Notepad. So one interesting thing about this class is the kick skills. So the kick skills, apart from, if you do have so you have your, what's the name of that skill again? So you have a skill called You Can Do It, right? And it basically adds attack, and if I'm not mistaken, there's a rune that lets your auto attack stats affect your kick stats. Sorry, your kick damage. One of the things that maybe it wasn't mentioned explicitly is your strength actually also has an extra bonus. This is apart from base attack. So if you look here, base attack, let me zoom in a little bit. If you look here, base attack already benefits from strength. So it's strength multiplied by 2 plus, rounded down strength multiplied by strength over 100. So it already benefits from that. But on top of it, you also get strength multiplied by 5 added to it. So this class really, I'd say you really have to invest a lot in strength for this, because you do get a lot out of strength when using the star build. The good thing about this is this normal attack from strength gets multiplied by your multipliers. Now again, it goes both ways, right? If it gets multiplied by your multipliers, it also gets reduced by your enemy's reduction. But at least this one, right? Let's say for example, if you have maybe 300 strength or 500 strength, you multiply that by 5, that's probably about 2000. Sorry, 300 multiplied by 5, it's 1500. So it's probably equivalent to 1500 attack, right? I mean, I think it's not little, right? I think it would be in your best interest to rack up on strength. So yeah, it's still in there. So I think this is more intentional. I think it's just that the description of the rune or the skill wasn't so explicit. So this bonus is actually also present with other melee auto attacks. The auto attacks have this. For range auto attacks, it's mostly dex. For melee, it's strength. Okay, yeah, let me put new codes in there. I have to explain why I wasn't able to use up all of the codes. But if I don't use this up, please just drop something in the chat. I will extract the log later, and then I will do a raffle based on that. Um, the problem though is I don't know who you guys are, and I don't want you um to put your details in there because again, privacy, right? We don't want that. So yeah, maybe rather than raffle, I think I'll just spend the remaining time giving this away, um, so you can guys can redeem it. Yeah, because it will be a challenge to send it over to you guys if I do a raffle because for some reason there is no PM function in YouTube. Okay, Puddin has a question. On the recent patch, how did they adjust the death trigger for kicks at 20%? So Puddin, so earlier we did discuss this. So the zoom out to go there. So the difference basically is instead of using the instead of using kill in the code, it now uses HSP change, which basically just gets rid of your HP. So I'm gonna try to find it. Give me a second. So Fate Prey now works. Okay, if you may. So Fate Prey works. Anti-fatal works now. But once it wears off, then obviously you're gonna die. But yeah, now it's no longer using the same code as some of the other execute skills. Now it just gets rid of your remaining HP. It makes your HP 0. So I'm go there. Just give me a second. Not Nova preparation. It's Universe Fusion. Universe Fusion. Give me a second. 136,100. So 103. This one. So 136,103. So this one, again, it's now HSP change. Before the effect is kill. So now you won't die. You just get rid of your HP. Okay, is there any news for linker balancing by Q8 RAM? Uh, no news. I don't know what balancing you may be referring to. I'm a soul linker myself. I would be interested if they rework the lifelink skill because so far I haven't been able to use it effectively in any situation I'm in. I always end up betraying my teammates and making them all die when I do it. But yeah, so far no news on that. Uh yeah. How does sunplate reflect works? Huh, that's good. Good question. Let's look at sunplate reflect. Uh let me go to sunplate reflect. So for those who doesn't know, the rotation of sun and moon has an added effect where it basically gives you reflect. So I 136,140 136,140 the time disk. Okay, so this is the code for the reflect. So it's dam rebound and m dam rebound. So it's a generic skill they use for it's a generic parameter they use for reflect. I know you were interested. Maybe your question was more around whether it's gonna take in the reduction first, but yeah, this one basically takes in the reduction first. So whatever the end damage you receive or how much HP you loses, that's what gets rebounded back to your enemies. For a comparison, this one is the same effect as um, high orc, if I'm not mistaken. Give me a second. I'm gonna check right now. Yeah, high orc card. So high orc card uses dam rebound. So it's the same effect. So if you want to test how well it fares and you don't have that yet, or maybe you don't have TaekWon yet, just use high orc card. It's about the same. Pudding says, yeah, Pudding says Nidhogg links better. Hope she's not a hag. Nidhogg, hands down, very strong support class. If I had time, I would have go to Nidhogg in our discussion today. Very strong class. The problem I have with these hero classes is it's gonna kill creativity. I mean, I know they put this classes to put something new into the game, but these classes are they're very prescriptive in your build, and whatever changes you do doesn't change the entire gameplay of the build of the character. It adds a flavor on it, but the gameplay in general remains the same. And with the reduced amount of skills that they have, it just looks so boring. I mean, all the skills fits into one skill bar. I mean, I think it's gonna be a little bit boring to play, but I think to each their own, right? I mean, if you enjoy that, obviously, it's good, right? I mean, if you enjoy it, then by all means. Okay, give me a second. Okay, I think I know now what we can do, guys, for the remaining code. So I'm gonna put another 3 into before maybe another 6 into the screen before we end this. But I will check if we can just maybe do another stream and then give this away, or maybe perhaps never mind, just let me put this in here, and then for all of you guys who still wants to go, just continue watching. I mean, we don't have to end exactly at 1 hour. I'm just gonna drop these codes as we go, and at the same time i'll I'll look at your chats in YouTube. If you have questions, I will answer them as I drop these codes. But while you don't have any questions, let me just put in the codes in the screen. CHY S, sorry, SF2 CHY SF2. You know, I should have just put this in Excel and then copy pasted. My bad. Okay, so this is the code, guys. Sorry for that. See. Okay, another thing, probably while we're just kind of doing this, one of the things, I don't know if you've tried this, guys. Oh my, my emulator crashed. Sorry, guys. The emulator seems to be crashing every now and then, so I'm just gonna while I'm opening it, just bear with me for a second. But yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, but the relics now, you basically can partially build them and use them. So obviously the lines that are given by the materials that you don't have yet, they're not going to be usable. And even if you trigger the last line unlock, it will not work. But at least it's a good way for you to be able to use relics without having to go through the blue relics. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Okay, let me do another code here. CH. Okay, here is a new code. So just go grab them and Let's go ahead and redeem them. So I'm gonna log into my character, by the way. So this is my character in the official server. Um, please don't criticize me, don't judge me. My character isn't strong. Go in. So if you do have any questions or maybe anything, or maybe after this this stream, if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to me either via Facebook or in Discord. I suggest Discord because I'm more active in Discord. Not that I don't check Facebook, but in general, it's a little bit more difficult to answer people in Facebook. So this is my character. So I was referring to the relic here, right? So again, if you only have 3 of the materials, you can start using it. You can start upgrading it. Obviously, these line items here will not work, but yeah, it's a good thing for you to be able to start working on your stuff. For those who may be interested, not sure if anyone's interested. This is my build. I think I shared that in a prior video. In general, when this is how my setup is. I made a mistake and I accidentally deleted my extract, so my resist is all out of order right now. So even my weapon extract, so I'm still saving up so I can get it back. But yeah. So if you look at it, right, my HP isn't so high. Just like that. What I do mostly is more in reduction because I do want to stay alive as long as I can. So it's about 51% skill damage reduction. Damage reduction is 107%. Magic damage reduction is 134%. Again, my resist is out of order because of my extract. Weakness of this build, again, the elemental resist is very mediocre, I'd say. Um, but in terms of size reduction, middle size reduction is 104%. So overall, this is a support build. Mainly help your allies and cancel your opponents. Okay, before we end this stream, I'm kind of tired now. So before we end this stream, I will drop in a few more codes and then we'll call it a night. For those who watched, thanks everyone. I know it's been a drag to kind of listen to me, so thanks for staying in there. And again, if you do have questions, just reach out to me. 10, 4. Okay, again, 2 more codes. Let me move to a better frame so you can see the code. Okay. Yeah, Kaizen says as Nebula changed from third line open also works on Sun Moon skills. Yeah, so Q8 Dremels already answered yes. Is a damage reduction from all sizes useful for both attack and magic attack damage reduction? So Knack size reduction is mainly on physical attacks. So if you go to physical attacks, you will see a parameter here called body para. Okay, you mainly will see this only in physical attacks, but there's nothing stopping the developers of putting this into magic attacks. So what I'm saying is the current convention right now is it doesn't work on magic. But if someone just puts it in magic attacks, similar to Soulbinder, right? Like if you have this skill enabled, Weight of Soul, right? Then size bonus and reduction will obviously affect your magic skills. But that's just Soulbinder, so we don't know what's gonna happen for other classes in the future. But yeah, there's a possibility. Okay, I guess that's it for tonight, everyone. Thanks for those who watched. I hope you had a good time. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Just one teaser. I will be making part two of my video on my build, specifically the gameplay, and basically how I play. I like playing PvP a lot, so I will create a part two of that video. Also, I am working on a damage calculator. Maybe I'll give you a sneak peek on the damage calculator. So I know how in ROM there isn't a damage calculator out there. This one is a rough. This one is a rough. What should I say? This is a rough attempt to do a calculator. So let me show this. So. So I'm trying it out for Soul Depravity, which is a SPX skill. So what we basically did is, you see the formula earlier that you saw, that was written in Lua. Lua is a programming language. And so what I did is I rewrote that into Python, because Python is the only language I roughly know. And basically just try to recreate the sequence of execution that the game does. And so the goal here is to be able to come up with a reliable damage calculator for Soul Depravity. You may be asking me why I chose Soul Depravity. It's actually more of a, you see, I pity the SBX community a lot because the SBX community has been through several downs, and so far there hasn't been any new update that has given them a glimmer of hope. So so this is a test that I'm trying to do with them. So, but once I can get a reliable version out, it should be fairly easy to port this over to other attack skills. But yeah, it's gonna be mainly the SPX one. So the goal is for me to be able to come up within the result should be within 3% margin of error. There's a margin of error. It's a long story, but there's a margin of error because of how the stats window displays your attack and the enemy's death. So there will be a small discrepancy because of how I need to reverse engineer the computation. But if I can get this to within 3% margin of error, then we'll release this for everyone. I mean, this will be free for everyone to use. I don't know how, but I'll you can grab this and use this if you want. But if I don't get there, then I don't want to release this, because if I have too much of a margin of error, then it's just going to be confusing. It's not reliable, and then people will just waste their time using this and end up not getting any value out of it. So yeah, one of the projects that's coming up, this one, I'm actively looking for people who want to test with me. During my free time, I actively test out the computation. It's a lot of work because I have to enter a lot of values, but hopefully I can get it done. Okay, that's it, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for those who stayed in the chat. For those who are in Asia like me, I wish you have a pleasant night. For those who are in the other part of the world, I I wish you have a good day ahead of you. So thanks everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.